Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. There have been a lot of updates going on, plus it is go time for testing server meshing again. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So over the last week, there has been quite a few updates and a lot of changes going on, plus a new 324.1 patch, and the tech preview channel finally opened up to further test server meshing. So firstly, let us begin with some upcoming ship and vehicle balancing that is planned. So as we all know, all vehicles are currently undergoing a large balancing and tuning pass with master modes and the upcoming resource network, trying to align all the vehicles more into their original role and use case. Now, although it has been said that there are some big changes coming to master modes, yesterday they spoke about some adjustments coming to loadouts to help with all of this, in particular for engineering. So they have revisited some of the vehicle's default item size and quantity while reviewing our feedback and using the analytics to see what vehicles are overperforming and which are underperforming to bring them all in line with others in their class to ensure there is competitiveness and balance. And alongside this, they will also be tweaking the handling and health to some vehicles to ensure that they don't stray away from their intended design behavior. Now, I won't be going through the changes here, but I will link the post so you can see what vehicles' new default loadouts are, or the changes that have been applied. But also this week, they put out a Master Modes survey asking players to let them know how they feel about certain aspects of the current vehicle balance, which states that this thread is part of the post-quarterly release feedback assessment. Now, I will also link that in the description, so feel free to go and fill out the questionnaire and help to further balance things. So it is great to see much attention going into flight and the vehicles, as of course this is of massive importance to ensure that Star Citizen feels good. And I will say that there is a lot to consider when it comes to tuning the flight model, and with so many aspects to think about, it will be an ongoing process as we see other systems roll out, like engineering being a big one, but also the Maelstrom physical damage system, which will probably have one of the biggest impacts and require a lot more tweaking and balancing then. But I am very happy to see Cloud Imperium continuing to ask the community for feedback, and again do check the link below for the latest default loadout changes, which is being done to heavily balance things for the upcoming engineering systems releasing in 4.0. Now next, let's talk about 324.1. This is on the PTU and open to all backers, and is pretty much the patch that is set to address the remaining issues that came in with Alpha 324's release, as many new issues came to light once they opened up to the live audience with the bigger influx of players. The latest patch that released to the PTU last night brought with it some more stability and bug fixes, including fixes for issues involving the transit system, selling commodities, personal hangars, hauling missions, performance, inventory, and a lot more, and I'm sure that this will roll out to live once they feel they have fixed the main problems that are stopping players from getting on. It is still in the PTU for now, but hopefully we can see it pushed to live over the next week or two. Now, we know that Alpha 324.2 is on the way as well, and as we learned yesterday on Inside Star Citizen, this will include both the Zeus Mark II ES and CL, as well as the new MFDs, which is great news. Very happy to see these two come along. Now, we have no idea when 324.2 will release to live, but I suspect once the 0.1 patch releases to live, 324.2 will then enter the PTU, and I'm sure there will be many other interesting features for the 0.2 patch as well, while we wait for 4.0 to make its way through testing. Talking of which, I am sure that you are all well aware now that the tech preview channel finally opened up for the initial test of the replication messaging queue combined with static server meshing. Now, the test started with one dedicated game server and 100 players as a baseline, so essentially what it is like now on live, and then they increased this to 3 dedicated game servers with 500 players, and finally getting 6 dedicated game servers with 1,000 players. Now, this test ran on the 324 branch, which we have in live at this time, but with the RMQ and static server meshing implemented. And during these tests, they did many server captures and closely watched how it went. Now, I didn't have time to jump in myself, but from what I have heard, it was pretty messy, especially when it reached 1,000 players, as was expected, as they do like to properly stress the system to get as much data and info as possible, and as mentioned, the amount of data that they get from something that appears unsuccessful is immensely more than if everything ran smoothly in the short term. They are fully stressing the system to limit the tests to find where it falls over, and there is a huge amount of discussions already going on while it was running. And they knew 1,000 players would really push things, as they did mention a few days back that when they were planning to do the 1,000 player test, it was just for funsies to see what happens. So it is important to remember that these tests are supposed to break things, as they are seeing what the limitations are. They are seeing where something breaks so that they can optimize it. It is so important to push the very limits of the tech, as this can highlight exactly where things need to be bolstered and fixed, allowing them to move forwards. So towards the end of the test, they also tried one dedicated game server with a player cap of 750, and throughout the evening, it was said that they are getting great data from all server configs, especially the ones with obvious problems and delays, identifying many areas that require optimizations, and that the quality of the experience will vary greatly as they have a few different configurations rolling out. And towards the end, they started to dial it back a bit as they captured the data they required with the higher numbers. And they say that the test was overall about the RMQ, which they say was a big success, even though it may not have felt like it for the players. They also got to test 324 in the meshing setup, so instanced hangers and the current game code, plus they were able to do checks on a few assumptions and new hybrid code that was added in the past weeks. But to finish with, they tested another mesh config with 4 dedicated game servers and 350 players, but there was no information on how that went. So that was the initial test of the RMQ with server meshing. They were running many tests with different configurations and many other things as well, so having a very varied in-game experience was going to happen. And the data that they gathered will allow them to now go away, optimize and solidify the tech for the next test, hopefully with each test getting more and more stable while they find the best possible balance of dedicated game servers and player counts. Don't worry, they expected things to get rough, especially when pushing to 1,000 players, but it is great to see this stuff now in testing while they push towards Alpha 4.0. It is onwards and upwards, and hopefully we don't see too many problems along the way, although I am certainly not expecting it to be smooth sailing. As we have seen with the other patches bringing in big tech changes, there is often a lot to remedy. But ultimately, we are getting on the way to 4.0, and although it is likely going to be a bumpy road, it needs to be taken. Now I suspect we will see more tech preview tests as they take the data gathered from this one and refine the tech, but hopefully we're not too far off from a PTU release to get an actual 4.0 build into the hands of the Evocati, and the chances are it'll come to the ePTU or the experimental PTU while they are testing 3.24.1 and 0.2 on the normal PTU, but either way, let's get going. But that is all I have for you today. Very exciting to see this stuff progressing now, and I look forward to hearing from Cloud Imperium about how it went and what's next. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing. We are fast approaching 70,000 subscribers, and I'd love it if we could get to that number for my birthday on the 17th. Come and hang out over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. I will be on later today, all being well, although I've only had like 3 hours sleep. We'll see if coffee can push me through. You are all more than welcome, whether you are a new backer or a veteran. Great place to hang out and chat about all things Star Citizen. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.